Mm-hmm. Here we are in the old cemetery with all the Hewitts, alive and dead. Christian? Well, he did put Floyd real big on his name tag. I don't think he put Hewitt on there. So he's wearing one of these shirts without the yeah, okay, that's cool. Oh, I was thanks.
We know what he said. We know all You pointing at me?
Oh, excuse me.
Really? Yeah.
Kathleen, it's cotton like no straw hats I wear, you know, out in the yard. Oh, you watch it?
May I have your attention, please? If you will listen for just a moment, we're going to have a little brief ceremony. We're going to have a word of prayer together, and then the children under 12 are going to take these little Betsy Ross flags that Jane has here and take them over and put them on the grave of the original Goldsmith White House Hewitt, which is this little stone right here where the flag is now, where Jane's putting the flag.
Stick it in the ground.
Okay, so whenever we're going to after we have our word of prayer, if the children will come to Jane, she'll give you a flag, then you take it and stick it in the ground there if you can. And around the grave of the original Goldsmith White House Hewitt. I think we've all had a wonderful experience in this reunion in learning something more about our family. All of my life, I wondered what my great-grandfather's name was. Had no idea, and didn't know until Rick Blankenship got in touch with us and told me we were the only descendants of Goldsmith White House Hewitt Jr. that they had found. Well, now there's a whole passel of them here today. And so it's just really been nice. I think I can speak for all of us, that we're all so glad to be able to meet some of these long-lost kin folks and get acquainted and know a little something more about our roots. And I sure hope that we can keep in touch with each other, and as we learn more about them, we can share with each other. One of the things I was gratified to learn was that we have a great Christian heritage in our family, and all the various lines that come together, that there are a lot of Christians, dedicated Christian ministers, and that's encouraging for me because our particular branch is not noted for that. Matter of fact, our particular branch is just quite the opposite. All right. Well, let's have a word of prayer together, and then we'll ask the children under 12 to come to the flag. Almighty Father, we do thank you and praise you because you are worthy of all praise, that we recognize you as the creator of all things and a God of love. And Lord, we know that your love for us is reflected in the family love that we have for parents and children and those who are close to us, blood ties. And we thank you for that wonderful love that we can have reflected in our parents, our children, our brothers and our sisters. And we thank you for this opportunity that we have to get together and to meet our people who we're kin to and get acquainted with them, and to look back on our roots, and to also see how that our roots are intermixed with the history of our great country. I just pray now, Father, your blessing upon this group gathered here today. you will bless us and guide us in all things that we do. We thank you for the honorable ancestors that we honor today. And we thank you for this family history that we are privileged to learn a little something about. We pray your blessing now and keeping of all of our family and our friends. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, boys and girls, you're too short. Could we see maybe who came from the farthest away? I think we need to find out who came from the farthest. I think we got some people here from California. California, we got their hands up. Washington State. Seattle. Washington State.
Colorado.
Colorado. And anybody from west of Colorado besides California and Seattle? How about Texas? Yeah. We're not in Texas. Anybody else come from farther away? I guess Seattle gets a prize. Recognition. What?
I think this is my dad. White House in this generation. That's probably every. And we're both in the American Revolutionary War, and their names come on the fifth line class. Thank you.
Got three. Some of you got three grandfathers on there, Rock. Mara, James Tarrant, and Joseph. And you got one. Oh, this one. This is the original Goldsmith White House. Of course, Joe just told you that. He was born in England in 1765 and then died in 1846. And notice he died in 46, and Nancy Jane, his granddaughter, which was named after his wife, Nancy Jane Perkman. This was a granddaughter, 5 years old. Floyd said she was burnt to death in a house fire. And then you got the next child that died was Elizabeth Ann. She was 16 and 52. Then you got this Miss Hewitt, the Eleanor or Lander, however they pronounce it. She was James Tarrant's daughter. This is his time. And she died. She was 50 years old, I believe, when she died. And then James died at about 57. And then you got Francis Asbury's wife, Lucinda Bray. Francis Asbury was a son of James Ticknine. You got Francis Asbury and Nick Shackelford and Robert Greene and Goldsmith White House and James Second, the grandson of and James Tarrant. I don't know, this baby over here could have possibly been the Asbury state. You see, they're buried in order about the time they died.
They had three daughters, and two of them are buried here. The one lived to marry and moved out to Louisiana and Texas and had her family out there. The only daughter that lived.
These people were living in 1850 about 3 miles straight through here by a census that was done in 1850. And there's no record of this man's wife, Nancy Jane Kirkman. I don't see anything. Says she died in 1838 and was buried in Jefferson County, but you don't know if she's buried here or not. The rest of these people buried in here are Haygoods and Massey and Greens, and they all intermarried, and we got several Hewitt children and Massey. This is just a dedicated cemetery. This was a Smith Chapel cemetery at one time. It says on record he was buried in Smith Chapel. That might have been the first name. Then they called it Green Massey Cemetery. Then they called it Posey Cemetery. So, and there's a church somewhere called Smith Chapel Church. So I guess that was the reason why it's on record.
You know where they get the Posey from?
I don't know where Posey got it. Somebody might know, but I don't know. That's what Posey living in this area. You've got the original doctor, or one of the first doctors in part of the country, Stones laying over this road, Zachariah Hayes. He had 3 wives and 26 kids. This next little town that they're Pinson was Haywood Crossing, and in 1800. But he's supposed his stone's laying over there, and he's broken 3 pieces, and then all these other Haywood grand kids. He got an heir, and this cemetery supposedly was tore up in the 40s or long about that time, but somebody came and cut some timber in here. I don't know how much. A lot of these thin stones like this will break on their own. Cemeteries where there weren't even trees anywhere around.
I
imagine if there's slaves buried in here, they're buried in that side of the cemetery because them things
I see these stones over there. I thought maybe just regular.
You'll see one man's stone laying over there that there's no dates or anything, just has Ellie curve on it. Somebody
Oops. Oh, there's a step. Oh.
That's about all I know about it. Y'all might know more.
Did you clean up the stones?
I tried to.
You did a pretty good job.
I didn't have a lot of time. I got to leave the late.
We took pictures of it. The only one I could make out. About 5 years ago.
They don't come with cleaning. It takes a lot of time. I didn't even try to clean the pack. Hold on. Rob got a stone here. No, Harvey is straight.
I was just wondering, in another 200 years, I was wondering if our cemetery is going to look like this.
Probably. It's not taken care of well.
Yes. Oh, I mean, look at the stones, and they must have had the houses and stuff like that around here, you know, kind of a...
People just destroyed them here. Thanks a lot, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Here's what I want this tape when you get through with it. You understand? Okay.
A star in her own time.
Oh, then leave it or not. You might just as well get the whole thing.
Our honored guest.
Oh, say if you would, Heidi. You might just as well.
I know.
I hate to take pictures. When I take one picture. Hi. Now, is this a fluid? All of it? Oh.
That was you.
Thank you. Shall I put my back in again?
Yeah. See those men on you. Hey, that's a good idea. This is Eddie and her great-granddaughter, Catherine.
I made it in the restaurant. And blues and red rag.
This is Elizabeth. One.
Who is it? Is she related?
No, but they were all good neighbors.
Uh-huh.
I got to see some of Joe's kinfolk.
There's you and Travis over there.
They did live in Arvada.
I don't remember how to zoom. There's Heidi.
All right. It's a lot cooler there than it is down
Oh, okay.
Travis, this is
Yeah.
a fellow evergreen.
Fountain.
I have absolutely.
My daughter has some fun.
Yeah. I didn't know you were doing that. I looked at a bit better, but I found
More
I don't know what
fun,
I'm
right?
doing.
Oh, there's somebody. What does it say? I don't know. Pops? Does that say Pops?
Yeah.
That may not belong there, but. But it's not hot enough. You probably are better off than we are because you live in Nashville. It's because Mary pops, but I don't know. August 13th, married to. Well, it looks like an EY to me, but that was like an M.
I guess is it Molly?
Fine. This year.
He's one of them poor kids. See, the girl, Elizabeth Cunningham, or she married Cunningham, and she had a son named Elizabeth Out Cunningham. Yeah, he's one of those three boys that had a child that they named Goldman. See, so when you say go to the White House, you don't know who you're talking. You could be talking about 6 different people.
Three of them. Three of them.
This is a girl. All of it's in the Birmingham Library. We got if you can make it, here's some of the records. This is on my
Got it.
Rub it in. It's gallivanting around in Pennsylvania.
I cannot.
How do we know?
I hope it's pleasant. This morning, myself, and a long nurtured friendship, which has hitherto
Your generation later.
existed and is it's beautiful stuff.
Very romantic. Yeah, that's just the way it goes.
You may think this flattery, but I tell you, upon
My honor, or the honor of a name of a man. What I write, I believe. Right? Is that
I'm not sure what this word is.
honor of a man?
Okay.
What I write, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Is that it?
Know and
Know and feel. Okay.
from my inner soul. Or interest. It's probably interest.
Interest.
Innerest soul.
So,
I left camp around
about
after you left.
Couldn't say we're not.
and I told him, I said, no, I said, your line can't be no worse than ours is, because I got granddad's meanings of driving the snake.
Married a lady there. I tell you what, those are
The White House hearing.
it's no. I mean, well, see how you come out, laid out for right there in Jefferson County.
That's my grandfather was in Civil War.
They have indexes down there. You can look up Benjamin Tarrant and find if he was living in Jefferson County or anywhere around. If you can get to the county, if he was in Jefferson County, it'll tell you which film to look on.
He was in the Civil War, and after the Civil War, he left, I don't know how long.
Well, you see, from
61, 1865.
well, he should have been in the, well,
70s, 1870s.
he was a single man then.
Most of the time. And then I have rode my horse, old Joe. Just tie hay on the back of the saddle. Go to school and feed my horse, up there.
She wanted to know where this was.
Liberty, Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma. We lived in Oklahoma.
How many months did you go to school during a year? Did they?
9.
They had a 9-month school year then. That's interesting. Well, what was the school? What did it look like?
Well, it was a little one-room building, and just one teacher had all the children. Some of them were young, just starting school, some were up in the 8th grade. And so we all went to school together. And there was a Indian man came down there. He was 21 years old and he was going to school. And he wore a lot of breastpins on him. He used to always come in with them pinned all over. So us girls would go up there and get them all. And one day he got tired of it and he told the teacher. And so the teacher wanted us to return them. And she said, who all got the pins off of Logan? And everybody held up the hand that had them. And she said, when you go home, be sure and bring them back in the morning. And we all took them back too.
What kind of pins were they?
They were Indian pins, real beautiful.
Oh my.
They made them, and they sure were pretty.
She said he was a young man, about 21.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what did you do when the weather was terribly cold? It does get cold in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, I guess we went. I don't remember missing much, so I guess we went on, and we had Hunter Pickens' property was across from the school, and we'd go out there and skate on the pond, his little pond that he had out there. I remember that, going out there and skating on it. We never did any of us go through it or anything. We just had a good time during recess and noon hour. And we had to take our buckets and lunch in buckets. I had a little striped, I forgot what you call it, a jelly bucket. And I cut my lunch in it. So, and I loved Mom always picks me some buttered biscuits with sugar in them for dessert, and I love that. She'd say, "Don't you want a piece of cake?" "No, I won't. I want the biscuits with butter and sugar on them." So I always got that. And I had a little dog named Peddler, and he nearly always went with me. And one day the boy kicked him off in the canyon, and his sister and I had a big fight. I run her all the way home trying to, because she...
Did your little dog die?
No, he was all right. He didn't hurt her. And, but I always had lots of pets. I love cats and dogs and horses. We had horses.
What subjects did you study in school?
Let's see. Arithmetic, writing, reading, spelling, geography, I think, was just about covers. And one day, they always gave out our spelling to us, and we would write it down. And one day there's a boy sitting behind me, and she's giving out the spelling. Murder Draper was a teacher, and she's giving out the spelling. And he could hurry, and get through. And I had to concentrate. I couldn't just come right out and spell it. I had to study it over. And he's sitting behind me, and he's going, B-U-double-L, bull, B-U-double-L, bull. And I just stopped. And she said to us, "What's the matter, Eddie?" They called me Eddie then. And I said, "When Roy gets toward spelling bull, well, I'll write the next one." Everybody like to die laughing.
Grandma, did you tell her about the story about your brother Goldie?
Yeah.
How he teased you and asked you if you was going out to see the little red pigs when you was getting ready to get a whooping?
Yeah.
And how he did the hot poker? Did you tell her that story?
No, I haven't.
You ought to tell that
was
story.
my brother. That was my brother. He told me if I'd get out and run around the house 3 times, there'd be a little birdie sitting in there when I got back. So I went out and I
Wait. Now, you know what? He said that you could hit him with the poker if he was lying.
If the little bird wasn't there, I could hit him with the poker. And so I got out and I run 3 times around the house. I went back in, no bird. And he said, "Well, hit me with the poker." He had heated paddle, and I picked it up.
Oh.
It wasn't bad. It was just a little bird.
So,
Yeah.
well, what was the other story? This is Rick Blankenship.
That was the story I was talking about. Have her tell you the story about how he used to tie her to the plow, and he'd go off and do something else and tie her to the plow. And you want to tell that story?
Mama sent us up there to work. He didn't like to work very much. I didn't mind it, so he'd tie the reins around my waist, and I'd do the plowing, and he'd take off, run around.
How old was you, Grandma?
I don't know, about 10 or 11, I imagine. And
You must have had some gentle horses.
that's just about my life story. Is that
Well,
enough?
no, not if you're not unless you're tired. I want you to tell me what you did for fun at school.
Well,
Did you have little things that the
yeah,
school did? Or what
we
did
had.
you do?
We just played games.
What game?
Well, we played. We'd all gang up and drop the handkerchief and things like that. Just spin the bottle and just, are just little ordinary games like that.
What was Christmas like? At school and at home?
I don't remember having Christmas. We always went to church.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, they'd decorate a tree, and everybody then would bring their presents and put them on this tree. And then they'd have Santa Claus give them out. So, and we always got something. Sometimes it wouldn't be much, but it would be something. Because I'm from a very poor family. My dad was dead, and Mama was raising us by herself. And we just just took life as it come to us.
And also her mother was not only raising her and her three brothers and sisters, but her mother had a sister who died and had three kids, and she took them and raised them. Also, this is a single woman now raising 7 kids, and till their daddy remarried, the sister remarried, the husband remarried. So how long was that they lived with y'all? About 3 or 4 years?
About 3 years.
And what did the government pay her for these children?
Nothing. That's for
That was just through the mercy of her heart that she did.
Yeah.
Well, but all these kids worked. I mean, all the kids worked to help make a living and to sell. Yeah, Indian territory back then.
Yeah, you can take go over there and sell them clover inside. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that.
I have heard of it.
And
Clover
a
inside.
picture come with it. And those Indians would buy the clover inside to get the picture. That was their real interest. I don't know whether they ever used a salve or not, but they get a picture.
What was clovering salve used for, Grandma?
I don't remember. It's just an ordinary
What
heel.
were the pictures of?
I don't, just ordinary pictures.
Pictures of places or people?
Yeah, well, no, it was just pictures of things, just ordinary things. And that's just about the end of it.
Well, one thing more I want to ask you, did they vandalize your home back then in the Indian Territory?
No.
No. Okay, I just wanted to get that on the record. I didn't figure they did.
She was born
When
in.
was it vandalized? When was it
When
vandalized?
I left and down Lake Texoma.
Okay, we got that down, didn't we?
Because Oklahoma became a state in 1907. So I tell her, I said, you're as old as Oklahoma.
This is wonderful.
We want to welcome y'all here, and y'all have a good time. And I'm glad to meet all of you. And anybody that hasn't met me now, come by and you might get me to say a word or two. But now we're going to have Reverend Joe Hewitt from Texas is going to say the blessing, and then we'll all dig in.
She just found out.
Oh, don't chicken in on me. What are you ducking for?
In here with this cool. Nope. This is what I call it. And the wonderful to go on the live. This in the middle. Put it in there. This is cool. Roll it out. Okay. And when you put then you take several days to do this. Like a play. Yeah. Shop all the, let me have that. I'll show you what I'm trying to do. It just looks like they choose.
Just like yesterday, historically, geographically, in all directions, that we can all come together and have this feeling that, well, we've been a part of each other all this time, but it was just unfortunate. We just met today and yesterday. And I hope that tomorrow, all of our good camaraderie will continue and that we will keep in touch with each other. And I think that Ruth has a wonderful idea here. She has a registration book, and she was so involved in research with our cousin Kathleen Mudge that she wasn't quite here with it. So we want each one of you to sign your page, which will have your immediate ancestor on it, and we'll have a whole list of who's who from the Hewitt family. And so during the time that you have, we'll be sure. We have to midnight, so we don't have to hurry. But we have and let me say again, how much I've enjoyed being with Norman and Roland and Ruth, because we were the group that scouted out this, that, and the other, and sort of got you all together. And so I would like to introduce our cousin, Barnett Wilson. And most of you have had a chance to get acquainted with him. And I asked him, when did he start this wonderful research that he did? And it was as recent as 1981. And I said, how came you to do this? And he said, well, I was looking through a book by the DAR called Heroes. And as he turned the pages, more and more of his ancestors appeared through his pages of the DAR Heroes book. And so all of a sudden he just seemed to be seized by a compulsion to do all of this research that he's done so successfully. And he has some very interesting news to tell us about a more recent a discovery that he's made this week, in fact. And he's going to tell us about that ancestor. He's going to help us with the way that we can continue to do research, and hope that we'll all come back together sometime and have another great time together. So it's my pleasure to introduce our cousin, Barnett Wilson.
Thank you, Jane. And I know all of you that are eating, just keep eating. I'd like to express my thanks to Jane and Floyd and Ruth and Norman, Roland, who did such a wonderful job here. All played a tremendous part in it, and I am certainly thankful to be here just like you are. I would like to say this. Some of you have the books that I started in 1981, and we have updates over here with it. Everybody that has a book, just get up and go over there and pick up an update for all the books that you have. And if you want another book or a book, my wife will be over here. I don't like to be put in the position of appearing to peddle a book, which I really don't. Which I don't, because I would be as comfortable to give them away. But when you give them away, you got problems, because some people just take them that don't really want them, particularly, and there's a limited number of them, and we'd be out. And I'd like to express my thanks to two other people. One is my sister Ruth here, who encouraged me and helped me a lot, and particularly in the publishing thereof. And so I appreciate her help, and possibly without her help, I don't know that it would have been published at all. To my wife, Virgie, who has put up with it for about a lot of years. And this ancestral search is, I don't know just exactly what it is. It's not a disease, but it is a terrible obsession. Now, when I started it, I don't know. I was in my middle 50s, and I'm ashamed to say that I wasn't very interested in it until that day. My mother had a lot of good records, in which I'm very thankful that she did, but I did not pursue it at that time. And that should be a lesson to all of us that have a lot of children, grandchildren, people like that are not here tonight and weren't really interested in it, because they were like I was. But they will when the age comes on them, and maybe the obsession will come on them, and it'll be interesting to them. We have a great family. And incidentally, the person that started it was Goldsmith Whitehouse Hewitt. I was in the library, and I don't know what I was in there for, but I opened this book, a DR book. And one of the names that caught my eye was Goldsmith Whitehouse Hewitt. I thought, what a marvelous name. What a romantic name it could be. And I looked, and I found out that was an ancestor. Well, that started. So he was the one that started. Then I found about 4 or 5 more in short order that were Revolutionary soldiers that were in the same book. I said, well, Mother, that many, I need to go ahead with it. And in just a little while, I was overcome with an obsession. And I don't know, it was just a driving force. That obsession was the only thing I can say. It came on me just like ugly on Abe. It just got all over. And it stayed strong until I got this book published. Now the publishing of the book, anything in that book, anything in the research material, over here there's two stacks, one with Hewitt, one with the Tarrant line. And it is the source material for that book. And over the 12 years, the material that's in that book, with minor exceptions, maybe a birthday here or there, has held up to quite a bit of other research done by me and other people. So it is basically sound. Certainly it's not complete, as no research will be complete. But what the idea that I tried to do was to go back as deeply as I could on all the lines. In that way, anybody, and there's certainly a deep hope that anybody that wanted to use that, blend in their family, use that, it would be of some help to them in tracing their own family line. And that's what anybody and everybody needs to do, is to trace their own. Tonight, one thing that is put a thought on me all day. You know, we may be the most fortunate people that ever lived on the earth at any time. Now think about it. We have been in a wonderful country, the best country that has ever been in the history of the time. We have lived in an era of that country when it was a great country. It still is a great country. A lot of us came along in the time of the Depression, when money was low and morals were high. It's sort of reversed today. But we still have this good family ancestry and background, good, hard-working, God-fearing, church-going people. And it has stood well for this country. People have served this country and served it well. Now, what I want each of you to do, you can do it whenever you want to, and if you bring me one of those updates radio here, I want you to pick one of these up, because these updates will bring your book up to date and will give you some leads that you can use on this thing. I want to speak not too specifically on these lines, because each family is most interested in its particular line. But we are indebted to Floyd over here for this chart here. That's a wonderful chart right there. Everybody can see it. It's and pick out your line right there. And the pictures, as I say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and there's some wonderful pictures there. And so we want to thank him for that and all the good work that he's done. And by the way, he's a good researcher too. He and his wife and his daughters, are good researchers. So in the future, if you need to know anything about good, that's the man to look for. Because he's a good researcher. Okay, and we have some pictures over here, and people have brought in, my sister brought in a book from Warrior, History of Warrior, and it is just loaded with items about the Hewitt family. And it's a great, okay. Now, this is one thing that I want to talk about. It's in the update. Basically, it's this. We know of a lot today about James Tarrant. There's a certain sadness about that. James Tarrant lived a great life. And along toward the latter part of his life, we have a document over here. It's in Floyd's group over here, in which he applied for a pension, a Revolutionary War pension. He was an old man, poor health, reported that he was dying of facial cancer and would die in a few months. He was destitute of funds, which don't sound real good, but now this is the sad part about it. His claim was rejected because he couldn't prove 6 months service, because the men who he served with had already passed away. We have 10 times enough records over here that I have in the research for him to have made his claim good. It's sad that they had so poor communications and so much was lost that he didn't have the records then that we have today. Not anything like on his own life. So we live at a time, it's the greatest time in the world to do research. We have the Church of Latter-day Saints. It's great. If you want to research your family, use them. They're good. All right, we have libraries and many other things that we can, and if you get in the computer line, you can network into some of these other computers. And I will have to say this, that in all sadness there, that some of this is leaving me out a little bit. Most of you went over here to the library today, didn't you? The research library. Well, I had a sad revelation in there 2 days ago. I did most of the work and did a lot of work in there about 12 years ago, and 15. There's a couple of books I needed. And I went up to the librarian and I said, I need these 2 books. And I said, where's the card catalog? And she says, we don't have a card catalog. Said it's all on computer. Well, I didn't want to appear too ignorant about the thing, and it was reminded me of the time when I was about 15 years old. And I went to the skating rink. This was new to me, new though, and many of the boys and girls there could already skate. Just going around and around and around. Well, I didn't want to admit that I didn't know how to skate. So I just decided I'd buy me a pair of skates and do a little on-the-job training there, and maybe they wouldn't anybody notice. So I bought my skates and put them on and stood up, took 1 step, and busted my tail. Okay? I did that same, it's been over half a century past, and I hadn't learned fun. I went back to the computer, I punched it a time or 2, and fell flat on my end again. Okay, the point is this, that today, you really need to know something. It's a help to know something about computers, because some libraries, that's the only way that you can get it. Now, I would like, and it's something that you need to learn, and you don't have to learn it, but it's good to learn. Okay, and one of the reasons that I state this, another thing happened this week is Tuesday in Chattanooga. In the research, there's a few things that bothered me. One was an item I saw about 12 years ago that said that there was a Mrs. Frances Tarrant who arrived in Boston in the year 1712 with a manservant and a maidservant. Now, this was no ordinary person right there. And this was also a contemporary with the first Leonard Tarrant. And I said, and I never could find anything about this until Tuesday in the Latter-day Saints branch library, the IGA file, it's a microfiche file. I checked Massachusetts, and boy, it was loaded with Tarrants. It was loaded, and some of them predated Leonard Tarrant. Some of them even predated the William Tarrant, who is in this update, shown to be the father of Leonard Tarrant, the first. And I'm not going to tell you a lot about it, but I can tell you this much, that many of the Virginia Tarrants had their origin in Massachusetts. And you can find this thing, and there's a lot of good finds in this thing. And we find that they did move around. And there's another thing that bothered me was that Leonard Tarrant. And you have document after document of Leonard Tarrant the first. And I guess 25 that I had all over. And the one thing that bothered me there, the factor that bothered me was this, that in all their documentation, his father was never mentioned, nor was a brother mentioned, nor was any Tarrant name ever found it. Therefore, I conclude that the old legend may be that he was an original. Maybe he was an original. The William Tarrant, who predated him, who was born in Wilkes, England in 1660, reputed to be his father, may possibly have not been. This is a point that you might find. It would be a great find. Another thing is that the William Tarrant in New Jersey, in which we have plenty of documentation on it, we have a 20-year span in which he did not appear in New Jersey, did not appear in Virginia. But what I found in Chattanooga, members of that family did appear in Massachusetts. They went up there, I believe, to their kin people, because they had kin people there 60 years, 50 or probably years before Leonard Tarrant. They went to Massachusetts. If anybody knows, there's a rock and wind and a lot of poor dirt up there. They possibly, now this is a possibility, and it's more than a possibility because of the names. The man loved names. They moved, the fortunes in Virginia seemed to be more favorable, so they moved to a place where their finances would be better and the weather would be milder, be warmer. At least why they got one of them. But now this is a really place that anybody can look and find this thing. Check Massachusetts, check the Latter-day Saints, check in New Jersey. It's not a lot there. Check in Virginia. This is fertile ground. Very fertile ground. Over there on that chart, Goldsmith, White House, Hewitt. If you want to make a trophy, fine. And I would love to make it, and I broke my neck and I didn't do it. I would like to find where Goldsmith White House came to this country. I would like to know what his parents were. I would like to know something about his brothers and sisters. Do any of you know? I certainly don't. Nancy Jane Perkins, you can see it right over there. That would be a trophy find. And I think it's a find that you can make. Now, the record states that they were married in Virginia, and that he was possibly from Virginia. I didn't find any Perkins in Virginia that would have been eligible in that case at all in 1790, and they had to be married between 1790 and 1789 there, 88. They had to be married in that time span. We know that Goldsmith White House Hewitt was in North Carolina, not Virginia. He was in Johnson County, New Bern District, in 1790. He was a male, head of the household, single, 23 years old. We also know that he was there 3 years later. He had a case in court. Somebody had a case in court against him, but I don't know who it was. I don't know anything about it, other than it was there in 1793. It's in the court records of Johnson County. The Nancy Jane Perkins, there was a large contingent of Kirkmans who lived in North Carolina, 2 of which were named Nancy Jane. One of which was, in all probability, was his wife. The document that you need to look for, and it's a jewel if you can find it, it's a trophy find, is to actually tie that marriage to Goldsmith White House Hewitt. I'll give you a hint. Goldsmith White House Hewitt, in the census and his business records, used the name Goldsmith, and he didn't use the name White House in there. Most old records would show only the Goldsmith.
So therefore, we've got some real things, real trophies to find about Goldsmith Whitehouse, Nancy Jane Kirkman, and quite a few other people here too. And Floyd has been so kind as to show 4 children there of Goldsmith Whitehouse Hewitt. They were born in Tennessee, and I believe Floyd, and he's going to speak a little bit later. All 4 of them came to Alabama. All 4 of them, with the exception of John, who married in Tennessee, married in Alabama, I believe. James Ignite might have married in Tennessee. But there is this thing, this is a golden time for research because there are so many records, and there are ways to search these records. Now, let me see what else I had here. Now, in the update, it corrects a few errors. Now, if you are in the line, which I'm how many of you here have brakes in the background? Brakes. Okay, there's probably more of you than that. If you just think about anybody that's the Francis Asbury line, that's brakes too. There's a big book right over here. It's published. It's the Book of Brake over here. Now, Richard Dean, who has done so much, Richard Dean Evans, sat back in the back right here, with her thicker than newsletter. Many of you are familiar with that. I know I've read it a lot of times, enjoyed it. She's done great work.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Well, and I think you're doing real well without me, and I'm sure you will. But I appreciate the use of it. And this line here on the brakes is extensively researched in that book. And she tried to get a book, it was out of print. She couldn't get it. I ordered 7 months before it was ever published. And I got one, and if you would like to look at it. My sister also has a book over here, The History of Warrior. And it's loaded. There is one in the library down here. Also in the library here in Birmingham, and I showed Catherine today, and I think she also looked at it. There is a large file on the Tarrant family. It's about so thick, and you'll find it back in the surname division, and it's sort of between where the microfilms and the census are and the main room there. You'll find it there, and it's a good, it's a look. Also back here on the side, I have put here the documentation for the Tarrants and the Hewitts. So anything that's in that book has the documentation on that line right here, and you're free to use it. There is this much, anything that's in that book, anything that you can find anywhere that my hand has been put to, you can use it in any way you want to. I have no restrictions on the use of anything. And you're welcome to it, and I'm glad you can use it. In the Tarrant line, there is one other thing. That's a trophy find. I wish you could find it, and broke my neck, I can't find it, and that is Josiah Terry, wife of James Ignite. We believe that she was in South Carolina. This is a hint to look at. I haven't checked it, and I just got it this week. Look in Kershaw County, Camden District, 1791. The date she was married. Josiah Terry was. They left out one item. The item they left out was they didn't say who she married. And which is handicaps the situation considerably.
Yeah.
So for every family, there are some people in there that you could find if you really look for them. And be willing to go and look a long time and not find them, and then go back the next day, the next week, the next month, and look at them again. You've got to be just like what was the old fisherman in Hemingway's The Old Man in the Sea? They fished for a long, 80 days without catching anything. So it's a little bit that way. You've got to be able to go 80 days without finding anything. And then go back one more day. Then you might come up with a bigger. But it is an interesting thing. It's a detective job. It is something that you can pass on to your children, your grandchildren, and anybody else can use. And I just love for anybody here to use anything we've got. Now, my wife is sitting over here, and if anybody wants a book, you can get one. It's $10, and that's what we had to start out with about 12 years ago, and so we have to continue. There is some, I think, enough for everybody here, and that's about the end of the line for it. Because I don't plan to publish again, and when it's gone, I guess it'll be gone. Okay? If you have a book, be sure and pick up an update. If you get a book, be sure and get an update. And it won't matter my feeling if you get one or you don't get one, but if you do have a book, you're interested, be sure to pick it up. All right? I don't want to, there was one request, some of us to tell a story. And somebody in here probably knows the story. And Richard Dean's grandmother, Martha Ellen, was one of the characters in it. I do not know which one of them it was, but I think she was the little girl. And she was visiting an aunt up at Blunt Springs, and she was on summer vacation. And I tell this to illustrate how devoutly religious this line of Goldsmith of Hewitt's and Terrence was. She was there, and so her aunt asked her to do some task. Said, if you do this task, I'll reward you. So the little girl did the task, and so she was anxious to know what her reward was be. So she asked her, and said, now what is my reward? She says, well, I'm going to let you read the Bible while you churn.
Oh,
So, see, they were rather strict. I heard my father say that the Francis Asbury, that was his grandfather, said when they came to his house and the children were lined up around the table, that they passed that their plates were passed to him, and he dipped in what they were supposed to have and passed it to them, and that's what they ate. Very strict people, very highly disciplined people. I don't want to take up any more of your time. If any of you have any questions after this, I'll try to answer them. And but the main thing I want you to know is this: that you are interested in it here. You have kin people, sons, daughters, cousins, and people who may someday become interested in this thing. These are good people. These are people that we need to respect, and we need to copy. We need to copy them, and it's a great, and we have every reason to. I believe in the old Hewitt coat of arms, and I didn't mean to say this, but Richard Dean can tell me about this. And the motto of the Hewitt family was, "Fear not. Light always follows darkness." And so they live by that code. They didn't fear. Evidently, they didn't fear. And we should be proud of that. They served their country in time of war. They served their country and their people in time of peace. And by reviewing their history, learning lessons from them, they can serve us. They can serve the ones that follow us. We have every reason to be thankful. We do have reason to be thankful because we didn't control our birth. That was a gift of God. Remember, that's a gift of God. Not anything we did had anything to do with it. But we have the privilege of finding out about our family and finding out, as they say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm proud to say that there's very little ugly in it. Besides me. And it's a rewarding thing. And I hope that you will. And I do appreciate all of you being here. You want a bunch of people. Anybody that comes as far as some of y'all has to be interested, really interested in it. Now I'm going to turn this over to Floyd. As I said, Floyd's a good researcher, a good photographer, and he and his wife and daughters have done a great work in this thing. And as I said, anything you really want to know about it, ask him, and you'll find out about it.
Enlightened. I'm not gonna take up much time. I could take up a lot of time, but I do get talking when I start talking about genealogy, and I can get long-winded. But what I wanted to tell you is how I got interested in genealogy. About 15 or 17 years ago, somewhere, I don't remember exactly, I was watching, and if I'm not mistaken, the Cotton Bowl Parade in Texas. And coming on the screen was a band. And two girls in front of the band had a big banner that said, Hewitt, Trustville High School, Trustville, Alabama. I knew that my great-granddaddy was born in Alabama. I didn't know where, I didn't know who his father and mother were, and I didn't really know his name. He was Jim. That's all anybody knew. Well, his name is James Goldsmith Whitehouse, and it took me a while to find it out. But it was about 10 years later, I marked that on my map, and about 10 years or so later, when I got interested in genealogy to try to find out where my great-granddaddy was born, I went back to that map and dug it out. And I started asking questions of some of the older relatives, and I got some answers. The answers were wrong. He said he was in the 99th Alabama, which there is no such thing. And the way I found out was rather rudely around to it. I went to Stones River Battlefield, and we talked to the historian. I said, say, my great-granddaddy was in the 99th Alabama, and I'd like to find out a little bit about the 99th Alabama. He says, there's no such thing. I believe something like the 56th or something like that was the highest they went. So I said, well, okay, I'm wrong. Well, I finally found out he was in the 43rd Alabama. That's nothing like the 99th. But my problem was to try to find out what his name was. I figured Jim, it's got to be James. Well, I found several James Hewitts in the Civil War. I didn't know what outfit he was in because he wasn't in the 99. I found a fellow by the name of James Jefferson Hewitt, but he was from Tuscaloosa. So I knew that if they were from Trustville, they would be from Elyton or in this area, right? So anyway, I said, well, I'm going to have to look a little closer. And I was looking at his records anyway, and lo and behold, right at the end of it, they said, some young lady by the name of Jane Hewitt had applied from the state of Oklahoma for a widow's pension for James W. Hewitt. They couldn't find him. So I knew this was my great-grandmother. Why couldn't they find my great-grandfather? Now, I knew he was in the Civil War. Well, so we thought, well, we're right to the state of Oklahoma. So that's where she applied for a pension in 1915. She was turned down because they couldn't find him. Well, when we got the records back, I found out a whole lot about my great-grandparents. And one thing was, they were where they were married, when they were married, when he died. Now, I was told he died in 1898, but I had a picture that my dad was in it, and it had to be taken in 1899 in Indian Territory. Okay, so I knew that was wrong. The family story said he would die in 98, of course. Well, I found him on the census in 1900. So he was alive in 1900, 2 years after he died. Well, that's pretty good. Anyway, So we got these records, and she said he died November the 21st, 1906. So they were, well, this is what, your family stories is a good place to start. But I'll tell you, it takes a little research, and you find out a lot of these stories are wrong because they've been through many hands before they get to you. So we're going to have some portraits taken over here after a while, and there's several other people who want to speak, so I'm not going to take any more of your time. If I have a little more time, I got a few little stories I could tell that might be of interest to you. But right now, I have a presentation to make for this young lady right here. Jane, would you come up here? Now, I bugged her a lot, and I bothered her a lot, and she did a lot of legwork, and I have something for her that is special, I think.
Oh, that's so nice.
So if you'll open that and see what it is, maybe I'll help you get it. There's other people that, of course, did a lot of work too. She was the person that had to do all the legwork. This is one of the things. This is my grandfather, Robert James Good, who the schools are named after up here in Trussville. There's 4 schools up there named Hewitt Trussville. Kindergarten, middle school, junior high, and high school. They're all named after her grandfather.
Well, let me show you a big one.
Well, yes, I will. Because my grandfather, as Barnett was saying, the Hewitts are people of high principles. And if he gave you his word, he acted upon his word. And when I was 4 years old, my mother brought me to Alabama to live because she was divorcing my father. And that was unheard of in those days. It was a long time ago. And it was probably very lucky for me because I grew up under his care. And he was the tallest man I think I've ever seen, really. You know, the Hewitts do grow tall. I was very small. And to me, the grandest sight in the world was see my grandfather dressed up in his Confederate uniform with his Cross of Honor, because at that time they were having many Confederate gatherings, and always our veranda was full of Confederate soldiers. And my grandmother didn't like it much because it spit tobacco all over the floor. My grandfather was very generous with hospitality. And so I grew up among all those stories of the Civil War. And no, nothing could mean more to me than to have a T-shirt like that. So thank you again. I'd like to say, I had very little to do. The success belongs to each one of you who made the effort to come here. And it has just thrilled me to death because I thought, well, at first we thought maybe it would be Ruth Hewitt and some of Norman's family and some of Roland said, well, we're going to have it anyway. We knew this guy was going to come because he said, we got to have a reunion and we got to have it this year. We're not going to wait. So we followed his directive. And you are the success because you all came, and here we are, 88 of us right here together. I tell you, I'll never see the one.
That's a lot of Hewitts all in one room. There's going to be a person coming up here now. He's what I consider one of the luckiest persons in the whole world. This fella was quite an amateur at genealogy, and he made one of the luckiest things that'll ever happen to anybody. I've tried it, it's never happened to me. You go into a town and you pick up the phone book, you find somebody in there that's named Hewitt, and you go, oh, he's probably a relative. Maybe he is, and maybe he doesn't know it. Well, this fella picked up a phone, and he called this other gentleman, and he says, by the way, are you descended from Goldsmith Whitehouse Hewitt, which is a rare name, a funny name, one you won't forget. There was a pause. So he knew he had struck out. Well, he told him who his father was. That didn't ring a bell. And he said, well, I know who my grandfather was, but that's about it. Don't seem to know anything farther back. He said, well, just who was your grandfather? He said, my grandfather was Benjamin Tarrant Hewitt. He says, you're kin to two Goldsmith White House Hewitt. Well, that gentleman he talked to happened to be the Reverend Joe Hewitt, sitting right over here. And he brought a whole bunch of Texans with him. Me being an Okie, I don't know. If I was born 5 miles farther south, I'd have been a blooming Texan. That to me could have been the worst thing to happen. I'm getting one of them riled up over here now. Watch it. Anyway, I want to introduce you to a fellow that come in here from Oklahoma City. And if you have a toothache, well, give him a call because he'll pull it out or drill it out. Cousin Rick Blankenship.
Was talking about growing up hearing family stories and everything, and it reminded me of, as a boy growing up, I sat around listening to my grandmother and her sisters and her brother talking about all the old times. And of course, when you're a young boy, you can only take so much of that old time business. You gotta go out and play ball or do something. But looking back, I wish that I had paid more attention and listened more. I did listen. I mean, I guess I was kind of a weird kid even back then because I like to hear those old stories, like I said, up to a point. And I enjoyed them, but you know, as a young guy, you don't think about genealogy and things like that. Well, as I matured, that's speculative, but anyway, as I got older, one of the things that intrigued me was family history, and I had a love of history, especially the Civil War period, and I had heard of Cousin Floyd through family and everything, but I did not know him. And one of the luckiest things for me was finding Floyd. And a couple of years ago, I got on an airplane, never seen the man before in my life, flew to Tennessee, and had a glorious, well, I guess it was, 3 or 4 days, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And long days. 4 o'clock in the morning and drove to Alabama. We got up 4 o'clock in the morning, drove to Chickamauga. We did it all, brother. I mean, we just had the best time, and it was something very special to me. And this right here is something very special to me too. You know, we've talked about our ancestors and what fine people we are, and what we come from. And having met the majority of you, I haven't met all of you yet, and I hope to get around to doing that before it's all over with. But you know, you can just take a look and see the stock and the genes that are present here from this group. And I know there is a heaven, and I know that a lot of them are down there smiling and very pleased with what we have presented here today. That such a fine group, and so before I break the place up, I'll say that I've got a few announcements to make. I had said to Jane that it sure would be nice to get the members of each family group together and have a photograph. And she says, well, it just so happens that we're going to have a photographer here, a professional photographer, that would be more than willing to do that. So for you to send us a Francis Asbury or to send us a Benjamin Tarrant or whatever, you'll have an opportunity to get your photograph taken. I would like to get a picture with my camera, and I'm sure a lot of you would too, because I know a lot of you brought your cameras. So we'll have that opportunity soon. And it's another real blessing for me has been the fact my grandmother is the granddaughter of Jack Shackelford Hewitt, as well as James Goldsmith Whitehouse Hewitt. We have a double Hewitt lineage, so we got the double whammy on the Hewitt deal. And then the Tarrants are in there also and everything. And another thing about family history, I grew up all my life hearing that we was kin to Daniel Boone. And I did not know how in the world we were kin to Daniel Boone, but I sure went to school and bragged about it a lot. I couldn't back it up. You know, how you kin to Daniel Boone? Well, I don't know, but we are. And, well, come to find out, that lady that you see on the top row in the middle there, that is Sarah F. Boone, and she is my great-great-grandmother who was married to Jack Shackelford Hewitt. So that's how I've that's where the Boones come in. But now beyond that, I don't know much. Like Floyd said, I am an amateur at this, and can only do it when time allows, which seems like time is a pretty precious commodity, at times. But anyway, Jane also asked me to say had the opportunity. I do some Civil War reenacting, and I had the opportunity this past August to be part of a filming of a movie called The Killer Angels, which is based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Michael Shara. And it's going to be coming on the TNT, Turner Network Television, I think around the 4th of July. At least that's what they say it's going to be released at, which it just coincides with the 130th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. And they had some shirts printed up for us that said, had Killer Angels on the front, and on the back it said in big, the Turner Network Television logo, and it said background artist. Well, I'm here to tell you I'm a deep, deep, deep background artist. So if you're looking for me, forget it. But anyway, I just wanted to impart to you that knowledge. She had asked me to mention that movie will be coming out. It's a very good fact-based, historical-based movie. So anyway, I'm just very glad to see all of you here, and thank you for letting me share. Dental meeting down in Dallas one weekend, and I played hooky one day, and because I have this great love of genealogy, and I decided, well, now they can do without me. I'll just get that much less learning and go do some genealogy. Went down to Rockwall, Texas, to check up on Jack Shackford, because he was a Methodist minister at the First Methodist Church there in Rockwall, Texas, for many years. And as Floyd said, on my way out of town, I looked in the phone book, and I did call him, and I said, I told him who I was and what I was doing. I said, are you related to Jack Shackford Hewitt? And there was no recognition whatsoever. But then he said he was related to Benjamin Tarrant Hewitt. When I heard Tarrant, I knew right away that we was kin. And so anyway, I'm just very pleased to have been a part of bringing together the descendants of Benjamin Tarrant Hewitt and beyond that, Goldsmith Whitehouse II to be a part of this family gathering. So I guess we'll start with the Benjamin Tarrant Hewitt bunch.